Well, welcome everybody to Zoom at 8. My name is Julie Ann Peterson. I'm with Old Capital Lending, and I am your host tonight for Zoom at 8. Again, we're here every Tuesday night. We learn and we network at least actually three times a month. We learn and network, and then we also have 1 week of just networking. So we're really creating wonderful connections, and with a lot of investors or with sponsors or insurance brokers, they're all here. That is what's great about Old Capital, is you don't just meet one kind of person here. Again, I'm a lender, so we do all of bank, bridge, agency, CMBS loans so that you can get the best product for your business plan. All right, well, let's get to our featured speaker tonight. And this is a friend of mine. John and I have known each other probably for three and a half years. John and I met on the Michael Blanc education program, and he was kind of a partner in crime with me. And I really was inspired by John. John is, well, let me give you his information. John himself, his wife, and 2 kids, they live in South Boston, which we don't get a lot of people from Boston. And he is known as the passive investor consultant. He founded the Fortes company, which partners with working professionals seeking to invest in a diversified commercial multifamily fund because they don't have the desire or the time to own real estate and fully operate it. So by leveraging John's experience in real estate investment firm, he has helped many families invest in real estate and has allowed them to secure financial security, preserve and grow their wealth, as well as compound their investments as they achieve their financial independence. Today, John raises funds and acquires commercial real estate that allows investors to truly diversify their investment and create a stream of cash flow. He also consults with the real estate investment firms and helps them start funds on their own through the fund rollout program. He's the host of the Passive Investor Show podcast and showcases the value of real estate firms, investment firms, and their true hands-off investing audio experience. The show has become one of the hottest real estate podcasts on iTunes for working professionals looking for hands-off approach to investing in real estate syndication and funds through real estate investment firms. So I am excited to have John Fortes here. Again, John has what I call, he's got a slow approach. He's not somebody that says, I need to have 1,000 units on Tuesday. That's what I love about John. Every time I see him, I tell him this because he's really very intentional about what direction he's going. And so I wanted to bring John here, not only because he's just spectacular, but he is so generous to share his information, to share what he knows, what has made him so successful. So John, welcome to Zoom at 8. So great to have you here. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I feel the same about you. I really cherish our friendship.
Yeah, it's been very nice. So, tonight I want to talk about capital raising because I think the new trend is, how the heck do we get money? How do we find these passive investors, and how do we link them to your deal or another deal? So, John, can you tell us, are you capital raising for other people's deals, or are you capital raising for your own deals? Tell me a little bit about that.
No, that's a great question. I raised for others in the past, and I didn't like that process. I didn't like the fact that, Julie, if you had a deal and you was the lead syndicator, I would go and reach out to my investors and partner with you on it, but yet they're signing up on your portal, platform, whatever. So now you have access to my investors that I just basically brought to the deal. I never found that comfortable. I didn't like that. It just felt like I was working for someone else rather than building my own business. So how to mitigate that was all right, I put my head down, I grinded, I said, what could be the way to, I could shield my investors? Create my own fund. Create my own fund where I go and invest as a partner on Julie's deal. Now I sign up on Julie's portal as my fund, and now I reciprocate everything back to my investors. Now I can do that with, say, Julie, Jim, Matt, 3 different deals, partnerships, and now they all give me the K1s, and I go and give my investors 1K1. So they're truly diversified. We're in partnerships. Everything's good. I'm happy. Julie's happy. Matt's happy. Jim's happy. And we're all happy. So that's what made me go out and create a fund.
Tell me about your early years in this business. I know that you were capital raising for other people. Can you tell us a little bit, other than the challenges of people stealing your clients, right?
Yeah.
What did you find that was a challenge for you, whether it was a partnership, personalities? Tell me a little bit more about what it was that drove you to make some big changes.
That's a great question. And I think everybody should be cautious of this. Is one of them, the first time I did it, it's all good. It was all good. It was fine. I communicated to my investors, such and such, blah, blah, blah. Everything's all good. But it had me thinking, what happens when we exit the deal? They still have access to all their deals within the portal. So that's what really didn't sit comfortable with me. And then there was another group that I partnered with and I raised capital for, and I kind of finally came out and spoke about this, and we'll leave names out of this. Mm-hmm. And they kicked me out of the deal after all things said and done. So I just didn't feel like that was right. And I said that would never happen to me again. And, I created a fund.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's a real life story. So, I mean,
I love the real life story.
That's why
you gotta get real.
I'd rather teach people create your own fund, especially if you can tap your network and you have access to capital in your network. Don't raise money for someone else. Don't grow someone else's investor portal. That's what I mean by that. But you can go and partner, certainly, definitely, with your fund.
Okay, so early years, did you have your own portal? Not a fund, but your own portal?
No, about 3 years ago, I think portals weren't as huge as they are now because they're very affordable. Like when you think about RailPage and stuff like that, those are huge. That used to be called, I believe, IMS back in the day. And then they were purchased out by RailPage, but that was about 20 grand. Like no one's going out and doing that unless you're a huge firm. And now you got all these portals like Invest Next that are very, very affordable, and you can go ahead and sign up, create, send all your investors there, put all your deals there, and it's very affordable. So I didn't have that. It was all spreadsheets back in the day when I started, and keeping people on a spreadsheet is there's challenges to this when you can go online right now on the portal and adjust information instantly, and they'll see it on their end. So, it's kind of cool.
So let's talk about the what you put in place. Okay, so you decide I'm capital raising, that's not happening. I need to secure my business. Tell me the steps that you took, what you put in place. I know that you were starting to do your own marketing. Tell me those steps, because I think a lot of people, you're so good at sharing what worked for you. So let's take a step-by-step approach here.
Yeah, I think the first thing that's crucial is a CRM machine. I currently use HubSpot. It's a little bit expensive, but I feel like it does everything that I need it to do. And I know a lot of people do ActiveCampaign or MailChimp. I started with MailChimp, and then I went to something a little bit more robust than HubSpot. That's how I use communicate to my investors. It tracks everything. It allows me to take notes on individual investors, allows me to understand what I last spoke about on the last phone call with them. When was the last phone call? I can even do meetings directly from there too. It's pretty robust. It's pretty badass. So the CRM is probably the number one thing that I would say everybody should have, because you want to be able to communicate. You can't, just don't think a spreadsheet and the cell phone's enough. You want to be able to tap them in so many different ways. And another thing, the reason why I went with HubSpot was HubSpot allowed me to automate my social media, where I would go ahead and set up my social media for the month of, let's say, December. And I can go ahead and have a piece of something go out every month, whether it was to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Those are the three that I use. I don't do any of the TikTok or anything else, but even one is enough. It's a little bit challenging keeping up with everything else because everything's going out differently. You're tagging certain people on one thing, and it's a way that you have to tag them in the system. So doing it through HubSpot, I found it really slick. I can throw everything in a spreadsheet, put the links accordingly, and then go ahead and upload it to HubSpot, and HubSpot will go ahead and allocate it to the day, down to the time I want it released. With that said, I created a podcast to help, educate and continue to educate and funnel investors in. So I needed to draw investors in. I also blog, and I repurpose my content. So every podcast I ever do, blog or anything, I also repurpose that onto my social medias. I think at one point I was, I don't know, at all 200 episodes of my podcast. I started back from one, and I started re-releasing them back like they were new podcasts over and over and over again on social media. I think that's something that no one ever does, because they put out the podcast and then they say, all right, it was out there one time. No, put it on a pendulum. Let it go. Put it out once a month. Write 12 articles a year and release that article twice a month. You'll have 24 days where you have content released, and you'll drive people to your website. You'll drive people to your podcast. You'll drive people to your blogs, whatever you need that you're putting out there. I think that's something that a lot of people don't do. It served me pretty well. It's brought in investors. It's brought in word of mouth investors. But then I moved on to the investor portal. I weighed out 3, and there was reasons why I didn't go with the other 2. And then the one that I like, there was 3 that I weighed out, and then one I definitely ruled out because of a certain reason. I'll keep it to myself. I don't want to cloud anyone's judgment or speak ill will about anybody. And then the 2, it's just something I just went with because I'm an IT guy, and the features that I seen coming down and the conversations I was having with both sides, I liked one side more than the other. It's not per se, it was just preference for me. And I went with Invest Next. It was affordable. I like the guys. I like what they were doing. And I like the fact that they were going to use me as a guinea pig in a beta test. And I was like, all right, I'm okay with that. I'll go and break your systems because I'm used to doing that anyways, and you can go and fix it. So it was cool. It was a natural fit for me. I like technology. So that was it. So I would say the CRM, social media, the podcast, and the investor portal before I went down the whole of the fund.
Okay. That's a great lot to unpack there. So you get somebody to your portal by doing all of these particular touch points, right? What have you?
Go ahead.
My question is, how do you get them to sign up? How often are they getting something from you? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Is it weekly? What do you have?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when I'm consulting with other startup firms, that's my question to them. I say, how often are you communicating with your investors? Yeah. So I communicate with my investors that sign up to my blog, just as a newsletter or blog, or the podcast, once a week. And they're going to get the latest article. It could be the latest blog post. That's the article. It could be the latest podcast. That's what I meant. Or it could be the event, Julie, that we were just at. Sometimes I get people reach out to me, especially Old Capital. I've really, really enjoyed putting out their content because I think it's sharing more than anything. So Julie, James will reach out to me, and say, John, hey, you wanna partner again? And I haven't made it out to the conference yet, but I'm always happy to just share with my investors, and I'm gonna make it there because it's one of the conferences that I really, really, really want to be at, because you guys do it big, and you only do it big in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And with that said, is I put it out to my investors, and it's about growing, teaching, learning, educating. I put something out once a week, and there's 2 lists that I keep. I keep my investor list, where they only get the deal flow, they only get market research, or they get the deal flow, which is offerings, right? So they only get those. And the reason why is, if you're already an like committed investor is what I call them, or tag them in my portal. Committed investor means they've already been past the blog process, and they don't need that information, and now they're waiting to invest with me. That means I properly vet them. I call it my onboarding process, right? So how did I get them from list 1 to list 2? And the reason why I have both lists. List 1 is I got to get you to list 2, right? So it's, here's the content, here's what I put out, here's the articles, here's the podcast, all of that. List 2 is now we're going to talk about now we're going to, here's the offerings, here's the market research, here's why you should invest, here's not here's why you should invest, here's why these markets work or not, or whatever, right? Here's what, the analysis that we're digging into, and sharing those type of communications. And the reason why is, I don't want my offering list, I don't want investors to unsubscribe because they're getting content from my blog list. And the reason why is, they don't want that. They want the deal, they want the guts, they want the meat. And the people that are on the soft list, which is the blog or the podcast list, is they're warming up to the idea of, this, or maybe they're a first time investor, or I don't know, they're just new to me. They just discovered me. So they have to get a little bit more comfortable before they get on the call. And I do all the calls. I get on the call with the investors. And then that's after they submit the committed investor form. They tell me a little bit about them. They schedule a call. And now once we complete the call, I move them to the second list. And with that list, they get the email to sign up on the portal.
Sounds like a lot of organization. How do you do it? Is it easier than it sounds?
Yes and no. I mean, because I'm used to it now. But with that said, now you got me thinking, like, I should, because I'm in IT, I do this, I should document everything. So when I have to pass it down to someone, they know what to do just by reading documents. So it's easy to me because I'm doing it, or have been doing it for a while. But if someone just came in, I could see how it could be a little bit confusing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How do you make these connections? You've got people coming to your CRM and to your portal. Have you found a way, or the method in which these people are finding you? What has been your biggest success to driving them to these portals or your podcast? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is I've been fortunate to build some experience, and that's really helped through my partnerships in the past. And that's helped because of the referrals that people recommend or introduce people to. The podcast does its own thing where it creates some sort of legit, like, credibility for me. And I know that word is thrown out a lot, credibility. But, for instance, at the conference, I saw Peterson.
Bruce
Peterson, my guy. Yeah. Bruce Peterson. And he's like, John, you need to write a book. Do it. Write a book. I'm like, why? Tell me. And he's telling me all the reasons why. And now he's got that in my head. I'm like, Bruce, come on, man. Don't put something else on my plate that I probably don't have the time to do right now. But he's like, you need to do it. You're out here doing this. You need to do it. So that's something that I'm considering because of the credibility piece too, because, it's all about building trust, and how do you build trust at a rapid pace with your investors. So I'm on the East Coast, and my partner for my fund that we're on the fund with together is on the West Coast. He's in the Bay Area, and it's like we're coast to coast. sponsors. So what's great too is everybody wants to be a sponsor. You know, create a fund, right? Be a sponsor of the fund, and then go and find people that can find deals and JV with them, and have some criteria of your JV partnership. So if I was to JV with someone on a like a 34 unit, I would say, how much skin in the game you got after everything checks out, and say I could bring up to 80% of the deal. I would never bring the whole 100. So it's just little criterias that I have after the deal checks out. And Julie, from our Michael Blanc days, we know how to look at underwriting. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like something we were trained to do very well and provide some feedback on when we were there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, there was one thing that you had said to me, and it resonated with me, is it's your time, right? Your time is important. And you had made a comment about your clients are important to you, but it's when it works for you. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
I would love for you to share that, because it to me it was like you hold them, that they're important, but it also it feeds what's important to you as well.
Yeah, I'm sure like Jim and Matt can speak to this. Is when there's no deal, it's your time. Like you're out there grinding and paving the concrete, looking for the next deal, underwriting, whatever you're doing. But when you have a deal and an investor is on the East or the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast, and they want to get on a call at 10 o'clock their time, and it's what, one is that 12 or 1 my time?
Yeah.
I'm on their time. When I have a deal and they want to talk about the deal, I'm on their time. When I don't have a deal, they're on my time.
I love that.
That was the phrase that I used in the past.
Can you say that one more time? Because I want to make sure everybody gets it.
Yeah, absolutely. When I don't have a deal, they're on my time. But when I have a deal, I'm on their time.
Yeah, that is great. I think that is definitely resonates with me. I appreciate that, hearing that again. All right, so we've got podcasters, we've got bloggers, but not everybody has the personality to get up and talk to people, and not everybody can write well. How are you doing both of these things? What have you done to create room in your day to be able to sit down and to write about something that you think is important to somebody else? How do you do that? Do you have a VA that helps you? Do you use other people's content? Do you kind of tell me about that? Because I think there's a lot of people that are worried or scared to do that kind of work for themselves because they're not confident, maybe. How did you do
I get it. I've gone the route of hiring a VA, and
okay.
I didn't like I always had to fix it to say I hired a VA to write a blog for me. I would always have to clean it up, because I'm always looking at things and writing it from the perspective of an investor. What would be the investor's journey as they're going through a deal? What would be the investor's journey as they're going through the onboarding process? One of my favorite podcasts I have is What's the Onboarding Process Look Like? I walk you through from when you first vet the sponsor all the way to when you literally wire the capital. And I tell people the two scariest things. It's not vetting the sponsor. The scariest things about investing as an LP is when you look at the PPM and you see the risk. It's ridiculous. Like, it's scary. It's daunting. And I'm sure Jessie, who said she's in 4 deals, right? She, probably that was one of the most scariest parts, especially the first time. And the second scary time is when you wire the capital. Everything else is pretty much automated or whatever, easy. You can go through. It's like signing up for something. But when you got that PPM and you open it up, that PDF or whatever it is, and you're looking at it, and you're like, wow, this is all the risk. And then you get past that hurdle, and then you go and you sign a subscription, and then you go and you get the instructions to wire the capital. That's the second scariest part, because it's your first time doing something that you've never done before. Now, I'll use Jesse again, second, third, and possibly the fourth time. Happens like that. It's easy. So being able to show investors or talk to them like that about that, write about it, write it from that lens. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like to write it. I like to perform the podcast. I actually write out my podcast when I'm doing the solo ones, if I'm not interviewing someone, and kind of make sure I'm hitting every bullet point the way I want to, because it's a journey. It's actual audio journey that you're listening through about investing as an LP, vetting a sponsor. Anything you can think of is investing as an LP, that type of experience, I'm hitting you with. Now, let's say I bring Matt or Jim on, because I know there's experienced sponsors on this call. I'm not talking to them about, hey, Jim, tell me how your greatest deal performed. Matt, tell me how you killed on that one. I'm not talking to you about that. I'm talking to you about, what does your onboarding process look like? What are the tools you're using to help passive investors? Like we'll touch on how you got started in this, but when was the first time you started working with passive investors? And what separates you from other sponsors? Those are the type of items I'm talking about, because if Jim and Matt's on my show, they probably were already on someone else's show talking about deals. If you notice on my show, we never talk about a deal. We talk about the capital raising process, systems. What are you using? How easy is it for you to do this as opposed to do that? How easy is it for you to raise capital now as opposed to first time? What did you learn? What do you wish you do now that you wish you did when you first started raising capital? That's what I'm picking apart from investors, and that's how I'm able to transform content and reverse engineer it for the passive investor. So that's how I reverse engineer everything and try to write things from my lens. But no, I can't do a VA because they never get it the way I want it. And yes, I'm researching the hell out of a bunch of other things to make sure I'm grabbing the nuts and bolts of things and I'm not missing anything. And if I do miss something, it allows me room to come back and clean it up on another podcast or another blog.
So you made a comment there, being nervous, being scared.
Oh yeah.
Okay. As a passive investor, what have you found for yourself to be the most challenging, the most scary in this experience that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I don't know if I was ever as nervous or scared when I first signed the documents to purchase my own personal home.
Yeah.
I think that was the scariest thing for me. And yeah, because I was like, this is my responsibility now. So now when I started raising capital, I felt like I was ready for this when I did it my first time. And the fact that I was partnering with experienced sponsors really gave me that confidence to be like, I got you. We're going to be good here. Because I felt one of the things that I do is it takes me about a year to vet a partnership for me to go ahead and partner with someone. Invest with someone.
I want to really touch on that, because that goes back to my point, is that you're very intentional. You're taking your time, and this is why you are successful. You vet people, situations. I think that to me is what makes you so different than everybody else, and is attractive to me to bring investors, because I know that you've taken the time to really understand the quality of this sponsor, and you know them, and you know that they are taking into consideration all the things that are important to you, so that when you bring your investors, it is a nice partnership. Would that be true? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why it works is because, one, I've already seen how you underwrite. I've already paired through everything. I know what type of deals you're looking for. If I'm still on your list, it meets my criteria, meets my wheelhouse. you're hitting all the right things. Now, if we're communicating, I'm not saying we got to be the best of friends. We got to like, I just want to be able to reach out to you, get a response, and we can go back and forth, and that's cool. We got a great, like, we're building off that. We build off that. So like, a lot of times when you go to these conferences or sometimes these meetups, I feel like I was always looked at as like a dollar bill. And I said, all right, I'll slow grind it. We'll go through the slow grind. So let's see how long this lasts. Do they go away after we met that night or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is it like a one night stand where I never hear from them again, right? So it just always felt a little dirty. So I always wanted to maintain a relationship. Let's see, can I trust you? Can I ask you this? Can I, how, if you start to get into the family conversation, that's always cool. We don't, like I said, we don't have to be the best friends, but I want to know how you are communicating and if you go away. And Julie, we just went to a conference, and one of the biggest things is when people learn that I had a fund, it's almost like if I was standing right here, they would turn to me now out of everybody in the group. It was just weird how that happened. And immediately almost they wanted to talk about like, what's my criteria? What am I looking for? What kind of opportunities and stuff? So I'm like, hey, I'm John, by the way. Nice to meet you. And, let's build off that. So it was, I don't know if I said this, it was like I was the girl in the pretty red dress, right? So I just kind of wanted to, I purposely went there because I wanted to meet sponsors, but I wanted to really, I have the luxury to be picky.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to trust these people, because I have people trusting me. And that's my biggest thing is I tell my investors, like, when I put them on my preferred sponsors list, they've been properly vetted. I know how they're underwriting. I know what type of markets they're in. I know how they're operating. I know what they're doing. I know what their value add play is. I know, if it's a heavy value add. I know I don't really want to be in that for sometimes. It all depends on where I am on my fund, what cycle I am on the fund. So what are we doing? How many markets do I need someone in Houston or Dallas? How many sponsors do I need in those markets, right? So, where are my sponsors in Florida, and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where I want to diversify for my investors on the behalf of my investors, but also I want to do it smartly.
So how many groups do you work with? Do you have a set number that you want to target, or that you're saying, okay, I've got 4, I don't need any more? What's your stance on that?
No, because it's like I got 5 that I review opportunities to,
Okay.
and I also have those are the syndication partnerships, and then I have partnerships where I know that they're finding like these 30 to 80 units, and they're looking to JV. So we're always talking, we're always evaluating a play, and I'll never look at anyone's deal because of the sake of time unless it's under contract. And that's when we start the discussions and say, if you want to warm up and say, hey, got something coming down the pipe, find out about in a week, will you be available? Once you get on the contract in a week, you follow up and we have that conversation. And that's
so let me
how
ask you, I've got this 134 unit property in Houston. When should I come to you?
Hold on. Let me just clarify something right now. I know where you're thinking. You're a 506C. My fund is a 506B. Until I hit the $5 million mark, I am not accredited as a fund. So I'm automatically out. And that's one of my first questions.
There you
when
go.
the sponsor hits me up, I'm saying, is it B or C? And now they know that it's a B. So until I hit the $5 million mark, where the fund is considered accredited, then I'm able to jump into 506C. So that's a fun fact.
That is a great point there. I have so many other questions.
Try, though.
Oh my God. I know. I got to try to insert myself wherever I can. All right. Are you doing this full time? Do you have a W-2? When did you decide it? If you are, I can't remember. Tell us.
No, I'm not done. I'm not full time yet, but
Okay.
I want to get there. I'm pushing to get there. I don't have a timeline for it yet. I want to do the multifamily investing full time as well as refereeing full time, and I still got the IT gig. So as long as I got the IT gig, I'm still learning about certain things that could help me in this business. And one of those things is business continuity. And business continuity is a lot of like risk management. So
Mm.
what would happen is I would create scenarios as far as what if this was the worst case scenario that happened for this asset or the fund or whatever, blah blah blah, and I can
Mhm.
play it out and know where to go and the fail safes and everything else,
Mm.
and practice those. So that's what I'm currently doing in the IT world, and I
No,
also referee basketball games at the Division 3 level, NCAA.
fantastic. Got a family. How
Yep,
how
yep,
you
yep.
know
And,
it's hard to fit this all in. How do you do it?
I have a beautiful wife that allows me to.
She,
So
it's so
she
amazing.
she really supports me.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic. Okay, so what's your next goal?
Man, I gotta look at my goal book. So
Yeah.
no, I have 3 to 5 year plans, but my goal is to break free from from the W-2,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where I'm focused on. So it all has to, it predicates on the fund and the success of the fund, which is, all about partnerships and raising capital, and basically streamlining that process for investors where now it's easier where they can wire straight from the portal now. It's just an amazing like piece that they've added to the platform. So that makes it easier when when they complete everything and now they get the wire instructions, or they have the
Yeah.
choice to ACH it through. So it's been awesome to be able to do that. So I'm just trying to really hone in on raising capital at a faster velocity.
Mm.
And I want my problem to be, which is, I don't think I'm too far away. I want my problem to be, I can't place it fast enough.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's what I want.
excellent. So to me, I heard some very important qualities that you are looking for in your sponsors. And I know that a lot of people are also looking for that as a very important pieces for them. How would someone get a hold of you if they're interested in knowing and understanding about investing, number one, or two, being having you as their capital raiser for their deal? What's the best way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll just make it easy and just share my screen.
Okay, that sounds good.
um, John at fortesco.com, or you see invest at fortesco.com, fortesco.com, or go to my name, johnfortes.com. And, that's all the contact information right there. You
There
can
it is.
pretty
Take
much
a
find me on
picture.
all the
It's
socials.
all there. It's wonderful. All right, let's turn it over to our audience. Let's see if we have any questions in the house. If you would step up, put your hands up. Hands up, put your hands up. Okay, Matt.
Tons of questions, but I'll try to keep it to limit. What do your investors typically look for in returns right now? First off, you blew me away. You're phenomenal. You are impressive, dude. I can't believe the systems and stuff you have in place. I bow to your greatness. What are the returns your investors are expecting in this climate right now? What type of
Yeah, that's
percentage?
that's a great question. And for the next fund, we're gonna play around with another philosophy. So right now it's typical, 8% preferred return, 70-30 split from the fund. And we have like when we're showing our executive summary to the investors, we're showing two scenarios. One, a real conservative approach, and the other one, a real aggressive approach. Um, and I'll just give you an idea of it looks like this isn't the projections, but when we're raising, we have a 4-year timeline right now, and we get the source deals within the 4 years. we have a 3-year. I'm modeling a 3-year right now, but we have a 4-year on ours. But our fund is 10 years. So the reason why is if I'm doing a 4-year, like 4 years to raise, my target of, let's just say the fund is, I don't know, 30 million. I have 4 years to raise 30 million and keep rolling it into partnerships or my own type of deals. So I have 3 options. I have JV opportunities. I have taking down my own deals or co-GP partnerships. And with that said is when I'm looking for a co-GP partnership, I'm actually trying to negotiate a 9.5 to 10 pref with the sponsor for bringing my fund to the deal. And the reason why is it got to pay the fees in my fund so that I'm not left holding the bag. I'm also asking questions like, if you're paying a 8% preferred return on your deal, is your deal paying a return of capital or return on capital on anything over it sends as anything over the 8%? So some of the deals that I've been a part of is it's a return of capital over the preferred return, and I'm making sure I'm not left holding the bag. So there's a lot of things I'm juggling on a co-GP that I have to have answered.
So a lot of the deals, John, you don't get distributions for 1 or 2 years. So are you only investing in deals that are going to, result in distributions immediately?
So I'm not doing like ground up development. I understand that a value add, sometimes they're cash flowing from day one and sometimes that they might not, but I know that certain deals that can catch up. So it all depends on how many deals I've invested in the fund where I can go ahead and make that next one where I can, wait maybe 1 or 2 years before it pops. Right. So that's a fluid question. It's all about timing.
Okay. And then my last question really is, so it's a 10-year fund. So how many deals would you have in that one fund? And it's an open-ended fund, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty open right now. Right. So my goal is, for the sake of my accountant, I have an accountant tied to the fund. We're looking at no more than 3 to 5 deals tied to it. That's it. Okay. Now, here's going back to my what you asked before, what kind of returns we're looking for. I think in the future, when we do another fund, when we raise our second fund, I don't think we're going to add a preferred return. And the reason why is we want to average cash on cash. And the reason why is we want to be able to not have to hold co-GPs hostage to higher preferred returns. It'll make sense for a lot more deals in the future.
Gotcha. Thank you.
That's awesome. Anybody else have a question? Yes.
Okay.
It's you, Missy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, Julie. My question is more around the due diligence piece. And I'm almost done raising for my first deal. I'm maybe looking at raising for another deal. And sometimes you just, you don't really know people. So what do you do in terms of due diligence checks? Do you do any background checks, like criminal, financial background checks on the operators? If so, how do you ask them for those information to properly and respectfully check on those information?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been fortunate enough to build a lot of relationships in this business where I can go straight to a lot of people and ask, hey, who's Mac, who's Jim, who's Julie. It's one of those things where you ask, you're gonna find questions. So there's certain due diligence that I want to build my firm to get up to, like background checks. I think Rich Roll is like phenomenal. Jeremy Rowe is like phenomenal at background checks and vetting sponsors. And, I've had him on my show and I've gotten a chance to really pick his brain on how he picks winners, like, when he's investing with someone. So it's something that I'm trying to scale and implement, but I'm not there yet, honestly. But I plan to put that into my practice.
Got it. But what's Jeremy's last name? Roll?
Roll,
Yeah,
R-O-L-L.
Julie can connect you for sure.
And you can go, we've had him here, and you can go on to the YouTube channel and watch the video. He's very inspiring and You can learn a ton. He's just a passive investor. That's all he does all day long.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, he's
Thank you,
great.
thank you.
Sure. Candace, what's going on?
Well, first of all, Julie, I have to say hello to John from the tip of the Cape on Cape Cod. So we're in Massachusetts together.
Hey, that's awesome. I'm south of Boston in the Brockton area.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool, cool. But that's not really why, other than that. But I also, I'm just kind of curious. So I like to know how things work. So you have a fund. So the money is actually sitting in this fund, or, and then you're paying interest? Is like, where does that money sit? And is it just like the bank that pays interest? And how do you get your investors to have their money just to sit there waiting for a deal?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the capital call down process. And if you can find a bank that pays interest, that's that can retrieve interest big enough for the investors to want to put it there early, you let me know. But with that said, so all right, the first time you would do it is I'm partnering with Matt right on this deal, and I'm using Matt because I know he's an experienced sponsor, right? So Matt's gonna tell me when he has a closing date. For me, my fund is structured that I can take capital and hold it for the first 4 months. That's written in my PPM, right? From new investors. But my goal is to put it working immediately. So the first time I'm raising on my fund, I'm kind of gauging just soft commits until I put a deal in place. Once I put a deal in place, I'm telling my investors who have already committed, all right, I'm calling down the capital, and now let's go ahead. I need it by a month before Matt wants it. The reason why is it takes time to corral sometimes, and I just want to make sure I have everything tied up in a bow before I ship it off to Matt. Now, when I do that, I'm waiting on deal number 2 to come, and I'm taking soft commits, and I'm not taking capital. It's called the capital call down process. Whenever I reach out to an investor and say, hey, you have invested, we got deal number 2 identified, we close in 2 months, we want it in 1 month, feel free to wire it. So that's kind of how I do it. And I'm not trying to have capital sit in an account. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Thank you so much.
That's excellent. Great example there. Appreciate that.